Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Expert Show, hosted by myself, Patty Farmer, and my co-host, Teresa Ream. We are looking forward to sharing another industry expert with you today. We want to make sure that we take a moment to encourage you to connect with her and to just listen, right? To have an open heart and an open mind and really be thinking about when she is sharing this value with you, how can you implement it in your life and in your business, right? We also want to say that once you listen to what she has to say, we're going to encourage you to ask questions and comment in the post below, and she's going to come back and give you more valuable insights and answer all your questions too. So make sure that you take advantage of that. That is one of the really great things about the Ask the Expert interview series. And so to get us started, Teresa's going to tell you a little bit about our expert today.
Thank you, Patty. Today, we will be talking about living the life you love with Carrie Asuncion. Carrie is the founder of Keys to Empowerment and is a career purpose coach and queen of self-care and self-confidence as she helps overwhelmed business women connect to their juicy aliveness. Carrie helps women transform from burnout to aliveness as she walks her clients through building their personalized toolkit. First, she will help you get a clear vision of what lights you up. She then helps you remove blocks and overcome fears. And finally, she will lead you to connect it all together with consistency, accountability, and resources as she continues to guide you on your journey. Don't settle for a mediocre life. Take the next step to make it exceptional and create a life that you love to live. Well, welcome, Carrie. I'm so glad we are both so glad to have you here today.
Yes, we're so excited to have you. And I have to tell you, aliveness. I don't know if that's really a word, but I have to tell you, it's a great word. So if it's not, it should be, because I love that word. It's a great hashtag too, by the way. So I love that. Who wants to have a mediocre life, right? We want to be alive and have aliveness. And for those of you watching, just watching her screen there should help you feel more alive right there, right? So I think that is fabulous. So let's just jump right in. So Carrie, now that we've learned a little bit more about what you do, and more importantly, how you do it and how you serve and show up and lean in, and really what other people can have just by connecting with you and maybe even hiring you, right? So tell us, what is the number one thing that differentiates you from other people in your industry?
Okay. So first of all, I just want to say thank you again, gals. It's great to be here today. And I loved your questions that you gave me ahead of time, because it helped me to begin to prepare, what really is to your question, what helps me stand apart. So for those of you who don't know, I am an intuitive and I'm a mindset coach. And so what that means is I'm actually able to see the patterns that women have got themselves into, primarily women, but I have found some men too, and help them to focus in on really patterns that can begin to transform them quickly. So I was trained as a psychotherapist, but interestingly enough, I didn't want to sit down as a sit-down psychotherapist. I really want individuals to be able to look at high performance, how can you do the most with the energy and the time that you have? So it's really about intentional living. And like I said, I'm able to transform things very quickly because I can actually, I help clients to see all of us have gone through difficult times, right? And what I began to realize yesterday was really the process I use is alchemical magic. So we add, we realize, isn't it kind of juicy?
Yes.
To realize that in those hot spots that we've had in our life, that those are the transformative periods when we can begin to forge new strength. So rather than stuffing our trauma, rather than stuffing our stress, I begin to highlight how can you use that as your superpower. So I can give you examples from my own life.
Yes, it's like a springboard. So those.
Right. I'd love to hear an example. I want to hear an example.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm all about women's empowerment, right?
Mhm.
And so I began to realize, so I started off as a dream builder coach, like intentional, what is it that you love, et cetera. But then after I started going through my own divorce, this was, let me see if I can do this without getting too emotional.
Mhm.
So about 2016, I realized that I was going to need to let go of my long-term marriage. And that meant affecting my family, my life, right? And as a result of that, I realized that I have learned how to adult, how to stand on my own 2 feet financially and otherwise. I've learned how to speak my truth where I was hiding it before, trying to conform. Yeah, I mean, we as women, we do this people pleasers kind of thing, right? And so now I've learned to speak my voice. And I really find that I began to trust myself even more than what I did before. So you can think about your own circumstances in your life, right? And how you can begin to see, rather than being the victim of your circumstance, because that's my psychotherapy background, right? The victim of your circumstance, I help you to see how you can become the superpower or the superhero or the heroine of your journey. So you can begin to transform those into powerful moments that, catapult you.
I think that is important. I think it is really important because I know, like, a lot of times, we're all hearing all the time about, it's your story, right? You can rewrite, you can start a new chapter and stuff. But I find that with women, especially, they're all about that. We're all like, oh, yes, I'm rewriting my story. I'm starting a new chapter, but they keep rereading the old stories, right? The past chapters. And it's really kind of hard to write a new chapter if you keep rereading the old ones. So I feel like if you were working with somebody, you can help them kind of get past that. And who cares what happens we care, but I mean, really those things just help us when we're moving forward, but not if we just keep getting stuck there in the mud, in the mucky mud, right? You can really get stuck in the minutia, but really being able to move forward through that is exciting to write, that new chapter in that book. And I always like to say, you're the author of your book, make it a bestseller, right?
Right. Be that co-creator. And I began to really realize, so I've also been using something called narrative. And it's basically looking at any time, and I have a great example of that if you want me to go into it.
Sure.
Okay, so I was working.
This is your show.
Okay, thank you. So I was working with an ex-Olympic athlete. So I do some coaching for a couple international companies, and he came on the call. And I'm the kind of coach where I can cue it up. We can talk about a lot of different things, like self-image and where your fears, where your doubts. But the coaching I do is I just say, bring whatever you want to the call. And he came to the call one day. He's an ex-Olympic athlete who had the story that he was a failure because his team did not get the gold at Seoul Olympics. It's a number of years ago. And we began to transform his story where he began to see that was actually his superpower because he had that experience, because he had failed, that was actually, then he's on his 3rd book now, and he does speaking, and he works with his partner. He works with high performance teams, and he really couldn't speak to failure as a landing ground or a catapult to where you can really begin to be. So it was so funny because that's what I work with. And of course he would land in the right spot at the right time. And he continues to come back to my calls time and time again, because he's deepening his strength and his courage to speak his message. As a result of something just clicked that day where I was able to hear and witness. So I hear and witness at a much deeper level than what the words are saying. And I was able to, I speak in metaphor. So like I see pictures, and I was like, oh, so anyway, you're taking that little piece and you're making it like you were working at a world-class level. You were brought to
That's very transformative. I can see how that would be very, very transformative, and being able to help somebody to have a breakthrough is really, really good. And I really do think that a lot of times, people will be successful and they've had this success and they've had that success, But the reality really is nobody wants to hire those people either, because they feel like they can't relate to them. You've never had anything bad happen to you. And sometimes it's the epic fails that you've had, that it isn't even the failure, it's the getting up after you had the failure and what you did afterwards. That is really, I feel, to me, when I'm looking at people could tell me like some of the worst things that have happened to them that some people might be judging them for. And I never look at it that way. I always look at that as like, wow, they had that epic fail or this tragic thing happened to them. And look at how they grew through that and where they are now. And that takes a lot more courage, a lot of work for them to get there than somebody who's had this princess life and nothing bad has ever happened to them, right?
Yes.
It's much more authentic, isn't it?
It sure is.
In fact, I just did a post, what was it, yesterday or the day before? I have somebody helping me with my social media. So I think it was yesterday that we posted, where I began to just realize or reflect on a situation where I got a chance to grow. And I think that that's where people really begin to engage, because they're like, it's not all just happy unicorns and on social media. I think you spoke
everything in life is a lesson or a blessing. I always say,
yes,
either a lesson or a blessing.
You are intuitive because you're very relatable. Then as you're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, sister. I'm kicking off. Yes, we're like, and that is super important, to be that way with your clients. It's just amazing. I like that part. What is the question that your clients, or maybe your prospective clients, asked most often?
I think it's possibly the clarity question. And even if they don't know it's the clarity question, it's the clarity question. Because,
amen.
Right? Because they'll come to me and they'll say, well, oh, okay. I can think of one client in particular. So she's coming to me and she's like, well, I'm not able to, make enough money to make this profession sustainable. And I go, okay, so tell me more about what you're up to. So she just wasn't clear about her worth. She wasn't clear about really what her niche was, what her market segment was, who her ideal client was, where she wanted to go. So one of the first things I do with clients, and as I ask them, so, okay, we're going to create a vision for what you want in your life. And what that means is you get to be that artist, you get to be that author that says, and I'll give you an example. This is a simple example, but I at one point put in my vision, I want an office in nature. So hence I get this beautiful, right?
Yes.
Even your hair is blowing. I'm like, I'm just like so fascinated by the fact that her hair is blowing too.
I don't know how she does it.
But she has this fan right there that's like, yes, like I'm a celebrity.
We want to be like you.
So, well, I told you I'm going to Hawaii in a couple of weeks.
Right.
That was a manifestation.
This is manifesting. That's what I was going to say. This is manifesting at its best right now.
Yep. And because we're staying in the higher vibration. But this is an example I was going to share was, well, I could share that example too. But I was saying to myself, I want an office in nature. So I used to work in corporate. I was a VP of human resources. And, that was just very like suits and, showing up for the board meeting and needing to look like you got it all together. And does everybody have it all together, really? It's such a game. So anyway, ditch that, want to work in nature. And there was one day that I was running, I have a group program called Be the Queen of Your Destiny. And I was on my back porch with just a wall behind me, and looking out over my couple acres. That was when I was married and had a lot of stuff, right? And I ditched a lot of the stuff, but a couple acres out, and I saw a little fox running across the backyard. And I thought, here is my office in nature, right? And so we can begin to imagine what we want to create. And yet life continues to offer us miraculous opportunities. And even like, I'll tie it to this Hawaii thing. So I had that morning that when I was offered this trip, I had told my beloved, I sail, by the way. So out of the Monterey Bay. And I was like, I want to be able to feel the warm waters because it's freezing ass cold in
wetsuit in Monterey Bay.
in Monterey Bay. So I want to feel the warm waters. And so on that afternoon, my girlfriend calls me. She says, hey, we got this great deal to go to the Big Island and stay with some friends. Are you game? And before I could even figure it out, because I want to get a speaking gig while I'm there, and I'm going to look at it for retreats. So I'm going to make wherever I show up, I am going to make the most out of where I show up.
Yes, inviting that opportunity. I like your website is beautiful, by the
Thank
way.
you.
I like it. It's simple. I love the colors.
Yeah.
And it looked like you can move through this initial part with your clients fairly quickly. And you have the 3 different things you did. And one of them was like creating that clear vision, which you described. What were the other 2? You had like 3 of the.
Oh, yeah. So I just say it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. If you want to live a life that you desire, is first to get clear on what it is that you want. Then second is to overcome the stumbling blocks of doubt, fear, and confusion that get in the way. Those are often, by the way, as a result of the traumas in our life or the stress in our life. And then to take consistent, inspired action. That's the third part, moving forward. What we would like to think we could read a book and magic wand, it will all happen, right? That's not generally the way it happens. We generally, in order to change our patterns of how we do our life, we need to have support in order to do that, whether it's an individual, a coach, or whether it's an accountability group that allows you to live into your brilliance, really. And I think that's why I've been doing more groups. I mean, I do work one-on-one with individuals, but I love offering group opportunities. I just wrapped up a 3-month experience of more time in my days, because I thought we as professional women desire, we take on more and we're juggling all these pieces, our to-do list and so on. And I thought I have a unique way that I can help women to transform their lives by looking at how they spend their time and their energies. That's the aliveness.
Yes, that's so important.
Oh, that is so true. I tell people all the time, if you just give me an hour, tell me how you spend your day, I'll tell you why you're broke. Like, so I'm like, because it is so true. And the thing you said that really hit it for me is about reading the books and whatever. Like, I know that in my business too, people will say to me, oh, Patty, like I'm reading all these books and all this stuff. And I always, tell people, it's like, listen, I'm not in the information business. Google's in the information business. I'm in the transformation business, right?
Yes. That's why it's important to have books that do transform you. And a lot of them do, but people don't take them that way. They read very surfacely and they don't take them into their bones. And they
don't know how to implement it, right? Sometimes that's where you need the help. You get the information. I mean, I do, I read probably 3 books a week, right? And I get lots of information, but sometimes where we get stuck a little bit, not always, right? Sometimes we could just run with it, but sometimes where we get stuck is like, okay, because we're caught up in our stuff, right? And we need help to guide us through on how to really implement that, right? And so it's really sometimes it's like, I tell my clients, like, you still have to do the work. You just don't have to do it alone.
And it's not cookie cutter.
Right.
So once again, I'll go back to that group that I was doing. I learned a lot through that process because I thought it was the to-do list that was part of the problem, or people pleasing. I knew about the saboteurs, right, that were getting in the way. But what I began to learn from women, working with these women, it was really came down to one thing: self-love. Sure. That when they began to appreciate their worth and know themselves as the goddesses that they are, these co-creators of their life, then they began to transform. They would say no. Like in fact, one of the things I have for your viewers, if they want to put a comment in or personal message me, is something I created, which is called Take Back Your Time and Live with Juicy Liveness, 10 ways that you waste time. And these aren't the typical ways in which you waste time. One of them is, one of the ones.
Give us a juicy little sneak.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
One that I love is rescuing. Do you find yourself fixing situations that you either don't need fixing? It's like it's none of your business anyway, or rescuing others. And instead, I'm going to just tell you a tip. So instead, ask empowered questions around what can you do? So you ask, rather than being a rescuer, you're a coach to those around you. Like, I've done this before, like with my kids, right? And so instead, like, I'm going to say, I ask the people around me, what can you do to make the situation better? Because I don't need to figure it out. Or maybe we can help figure it out together. But so that's a more empowered question. And then asking them what resources are available to you.
Now that is really, really good, because I do think that women, especially, maybe it's because we've raised kids, like I don't know exactly what the reason is, but we do try to fix it, right? Because I always say I'm the Olivia Pope of marketing for sure. But, you know, we are fixers, right? But I had to learn when my kids grew up. I have 6 daughters. And one of the things I had to learn is every time they called me, they weren't asking me to fix it. Sometimes they just, yes. And so now when they start, you know, blah, 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 mom, you know, I'm like, okay, wait a second. I just want to know what hat I'm wearing. Am I just listening, or are you asking me to fix it? As if, you know, because I listen differently when I think that I'm having to try to find the solution, right? Rather than just being your mom and saying,
it takes energy. It takes a lot of energy. I have so much more energy now that I've really worked on my rescue part. I'm interested. Can we have one more of this question?
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, the image I get as you speak that, the rescuing part is like, we can feel like we're carrying somebody else's load, right? And instead, imagine, for the listeners, that you actually give it back to them. Yeah. Like you can feel like the weight going, whoo, like I don't need to figure that out. I just need to listen. That's all you're asking me. Okay. I'm going to just feel into this. Okay. This is kind of interesting. I came up with this as, like I said,
okay, juicy.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Let's lean into that, right?
As this might be not something that you might not have necessarily thought about, but it's as simple as repeatedly doing the same thing and expecting different results. So Einstein says that is insanity, right? So pause. This is a big one, because so frequently in our society, we're taught to do more. And just last weekend, I invited a small group of women together to pause. So you pause and you ask yourself, is this giving me the results that I desire? So is it? And then if not, how can I do this in a way that reflects my highest values and intentions? And many times people don't ask, what are my highest values? And I like to say, if you understand what your top 3 to 5 values are, you can make a decision like this, right? So as I say that, tell me what that bubbles up for you gals about that sense of doing the same thing.
We're getting laser on the job coaching.
Yeah. What is it? You go first, Patty. You go first.
Thanks. Actually, I've done a lot of inner work, and I'm actually working with somebody right now on really kind of stepping into being intuitive. And actually, I have to tell you all, while I'm watching that beach thing, I just booked my beach vacation trip, and it really came to me that when I am doing and I do that, I have actually learned that the answer for me is to just be, like, stop doing and just be. And when I allow myself to just be, it always comes to me. And then one of the things I realized, I actually wrote to her yesterday and I said, do you think that, I don't know if it's because I'm a Pisces, if that has anything to do with it or not, because I'm not sure how I really feel about that. But one of the things I did realize is that I feel like my intuition is louder when I'm by water. It's the ocean, the beach soothes me. And when I'm just being, if I'm by water when I do it, my intuition talks to me and I feel like the voice is louder. And so I listen better.
Totally understand that.
That's your element then. I think it depends on what, some of us are earth elements. Some of us are, so I'm a Pisces too. My birthday's coming up.
Me too.
In March. Yeah.
I'll tell you what it brought up for me is when you're talking about the values. One that I had been working on the last couple of years is you're with your family, and one of them may irritate you or say something, and so I pause. That you're talking about the pausing. I pause, and then I think of my value that I named for my family was peace, harmony, and love within the family. So I don't respond quickly with a sharp tongue about things. I let it pass. I say things in a loving manner and act in a loving manner. And that's really helped. So I think that you hit it right on the head for me. It really helps your life along when that happens.
I think a lot happens in the pause too, don't you? I think that is growth, because in that pause, we recognize, right? That's when we actually take that moment and recognize and say, what is it I really want to happen here? And I think that actually is another question that I think is, when these things happen, using your example, and it could be with other people, not always your family, but when you do it, it's like, what is my intention here? Is my intention to be right? Or is my, like what is it? And so, yes, I have to tell you, sometimes being silent is the hardest thing.
Isn't it? Oh my gosh. Yeah, but the thought that comes up to me, because like I said, I think in metaphor, is that how powerful we are, that we can change the dance step. So whether it's an organization, our family, our communities, our world, when we change the dance step and we choose to come from kindness, we choose to come from peace, then the world transforms. We are the leaders. I'm guessing the people who generally listen to your podcast are the women leaders who desire to live with a greater sense. I've been looking at, by the way, the difference between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Mm-hmm. And my vision when I took a group of women to Bali was that they come together and they co-create something quite different. So the idea of power over or victimhood, which has been the non-divine aspect of who we are, who we be in the world, and bringing up the collaboration, the cooperation, the thriving planet. When we take a stand for that and we change the dance step, even though it may feel audaciously uncomfortable, then we are elevating, let's say. I did not a podcast, but a whole series called Women Rise Up, Activate Your Purpose, Your Passion, and Your Profitability. And it was all about that we as women have tremendous power to affect our environment, but it takes the courageousness to say, I'm going to do this differently. And that's, I
think, and when you say it's recognizing it too, because I know that I, over the years, have done a lot of work on that. And so for me, I find that, I'm not going to say I perfectly do it, of course not, but I would say that, 90% of the time I'm able to stay in that space because I choose to stay in that space. Because somebody told me once, and I never forgot it, I used to say that I make the decision. I even used to have it as a hashtag, make the decision. And I would say, I decide. And this girl said to me one time that she never says decide. And I said, why? And then I can't remember all of them, but she listed all these words like pesticide and like all these negative words that ended in side, right? And then she said, don't make the decision and decide, make a choice. And when she said that, it resonated with me so much better that I can make a choice rather than a decision. It just kind of landed with me. Once she walked me through the decision, the difference between deciding and choosing, like literally, for me, it was just transformational. That's
so powerful, Patty.
I totally dig what you're saying. In fact, the word that I was playing with is I commit.
Oh, I love that word too.
So when you're actually in the vision I get, this is one of my magic wands. So I like to say, like, coming up with that. So I love what you're saying about I have choice. And when we realize I choose, that's putting a stake in the ground to say, literally, I commit that this is my path, or I'm committing to whatever, whether it's peace or my knowing,
whatever it is. The example she used, the girl that told me, was she was saying that sometimes when people are married and they stay married, they say, she kind of quoted, I don't know who said it, I can't remember who said it, but she said that somebody had made this thing about when you're married and you're happily married, that every day you make the decision to love them. Every day it's a decision, because it's not always easy. And so she said, every day you make that decision. And then she said, but if you switch that up and say, I make the choice, doesn't that just sound so much better? And literally it was transformational for me. Really, honestly, making a decision could be like, you know, a decision had to be made. So I made the decision. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always a positive, but a choice.
But a choice, you can move freely.
Yeah, it just really made a difference for me. I think it was actually one of those things that literally changed my life.
Love that.
You've just helped me create my wedding vows. I'm getting married soon. And we're writing. So I told them, I said, you know, for Valentine's Day, I want a love letter, you know, because we can give each other whatever. But I think that might be part of my wedding vows, as I choose to love you. I choose to be your partner. I choose.
Yes.
I feel good. That just made me feel good. Thank you.
That is lovely, lovely. Oh my goodness.
I am loving this interview. I'm loving this show.
I'm feeling so moved, just connected to you ladies, feeling inspired. I can feel that I am in the presence of wise women.
Thank you.
Oh, we feel it too.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'm just going to say, I'm going to encourage the people who are listening this to put in their comments what, you know, really what they're choosing. We might as well use this as a, you know, what are you choosing?
I love it.
Yes.
And if they feel like they need some support with choosing how they're spending their time and their energies, if you feel like you need some support with that, personal message me, write in the comments, and I will send you.
Would you be willing to share, like, how did they get that? Is there like a website or something that they like? Do you have it on your website?
You know, I just created this. I did it as a challenge. Somebody said to me, and I was like, oh, so what did I learn? Boom, 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 boom. I mean, this is over a number of years, but it's not on my website even yet. So all they would need to do.
But you're going to send it to me and Teresa though, right?
Yes.
And then anybody that asks for that in the comments. So when you are listening to this, ladies and men, put in the comments, you know, that you would love to have
time.
Yes. And I love that. I love that. So Teresa, back to you.
Who could we introduce you to that could move the needle for you in the next 30 days? What, if it isn't a who, it's a what type of person?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I've been thinking about this too, because you have powerful questions. And so I began to realize just connecting with you two has been really helpful for me, because I'm getting more clear. I want to do more podcasts about women's empowerment. I want every woman to have in their hands the tools that they can elevate their leadership in our world. So podcast, TV, I've been on TV before, and like some, what was it called? TV, La La Land or something, was in LA. I went to Beverly Hills. So TV, radio, podcasts, speaking opportunities, so that I can begin to get the word out there about you can live. And I'm going to switch things up, like you said, about that. I choose, so that women are realizing that they are co-creators of their reality, and they don't have to just take what's ever dished up to them, but they can be the authors of their life and the heroines of their life, even if, because there could be some shame about these circumstances that we've had, whether it's trauma, abuse, or even upbringing. I've had people come to me and we transform their shame around sexuality, around issues that are like what they consider to be big. And we help them to realize that that's helped to form who they are. So really a platform where I can help with women's empowerment and be able to speak.
Oh, I can think of so many. We'll have to connect. I'm sure Teresa's going to want to too. We definitely want to connect. I can think of so many different ways that I can serve and support you. So yes, we absolutely want to do that. So last question.
Sure.
What is the social media platform you're the most active on?
Facebook. I have my Keys to Empowerment account there. I'm dabbling in Instagram, but really Facebook is what I'm most comfortable in.
That is awesome. Now I have to tell you, for the people who are listening, thank you so much for being here today. I have to tell you personally This has been just a fabulous time that I've spent with you, and always with you, Teresa, of course, and stuff. So thank you, Carrie, for being a guest on the show and sharing your brilliance and sharing it so generously too. To our audience, thank you for joining us on Ask the Expert. Make sure you put your questions in the comments, because she's going to come back and answer them. And also, you're going to want to get her gift for sure. So make sure you let her know that. And if you enjoyed today's show, don't keep us a secret. Share us with your network. And believe me, when I say your colleagues, family, and friends, well, thank you. But we have an invitation for you too. So, Teresa.
Thank you, Patty. And thank you for being such a loving and inspiring co-host. You're just warm my heart. And Carrie, you are just perfect, just perfect.
I so appreciate both of you, Patty, Teresa. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being this voice of really stirring things up in our world. And I love it. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, very welcome. We would like to invite you to join us on our Facebook group and connect with our guest and with Patty and I, and to other amazing women that are part of the Professional Women Network of the Monterey Peninsula, known as PWN, and now includes members locally, nationally, and internationally too. We would love to have you join us and share your expertise with our audiences. You can go to www.facebook.com/groups/PWN Monterey.
So thank you so much. Thank you again, Carrie. Thank you as always, Teresa. For everybody else, we will see you next week. Have a phenomenal week until then.
Thank you.